Planning Board's 18th meeting of fiscal year 2017. I'm Brian Close, Chair of the Planning Board. I'll ask my colleagues to introduce themselves, starting on my right, please.
I'm Alex Whiteside, I'm a member.
William Clark, Planning Director.
Julia Getman, Clerk.
Tim Serwinski, Assistant Town Planner.
April Lamoureux, Planning Board member. Sorry.
Cheryl Tagayas, member.
Great, thank you. And we start a new tradition tonight, thanking the Milton cable channel for all their hard work on getting this and all of our other meetings online for everybody to watch. We have a couple of administrative items. Our next meeting dates are currently March 23rd and April 13th. Before we adjourn tonight, I'd like to quickly run through the April and May calendar and see if anybody has any conflicts coming up that we should be aware of for vacations and whatnot. We're going to approve minutes. We've got minutes in front of us from February 16th, and I believe they were resent out after comments were they were redistributed with comments from our secretary, Alex Whiteside. Does anybody have any other comments?
I think I made.
Second.
Sorry, hold on one second.
She hasn't moved
Alex.
anything yet.
So moved. But,
I'm sorry, I did look, and I don't know if this was. I just was on page 2 at the top. I'm not sure that I heard that the same way in terms of Mr. Ciccello. I thought that he was advocating for moving forward with a development agreement.
what does it say?
It says that Anthony Ciccello, attorney for Jack Weeks of 2 Carberry Lane, said that the proposed zoning is workable and that the project should move forward with minimal impact and with clarity and accountability on the part of the developer.
So you'd like to add that he suggested that a development agreement would be a good idea
So where it says move forward with,
with a development agreement.
exactly.
Okay, that seems like a good plan, doesn't it?
All right. Any other
So moved.
comments?
No other
I
comments.
have a motion to approve the minutes of
Thursday,
February 16th, 2017, as amended just now by Cheryl.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We're going to jump to citizen speak, please. Is there anyone here? Well, let me quickly go through the agenda. We have an A&R for Webster Road, which is applicant is the Cunningham Foundation for the creation of 6 Form A lots in a C-zone. We have discussion of potential zoning articles for the October 2017 town meeting. We have the discussion of an acting chair for the May 2017 town meeting. We have no public hearings tonight, and we will have 2 items for old business: deliberations on Pulte Homes and deliberations on Dennis and Martha Burke for a special permit for decision for cluster development at 245 Highland Street.
Brian, you have a revised agenda that has an additional old business item.
And we have another item, discussion of the MAPC application for technical assistance for Wharf Area Milton Village Planning. Thank you, Tim. Is there anybody that would like to speak this evening on any topic, as we do not have any public hearings? All right, citizen speak is thus concluded. We are going to actually jump to old business quickly and hear on deliberations on Dennis and Martha Burke special permit decision for cluster development 245 Highland Street. The applicant cannot be here tonight, and her counsel is here. She had actually requested to continue the hearing because she's not present, but I did speak to counsel beforehand and asked if we could move forward subject to any major issues that rise, just to move this off the agenda, and he was okay with that. So I know that comments came around from Alex Whiteside dated March 2nd, 2017. I'm not sure if there have been subsequent comments from anybody. I did review them and did not have any further comments other than I would like to add the same language from section 18 of the Pulte special permit dealing with a bond.
Brian, I had one thing that I mentioned at one of our meetings. I don't know if you want me to mention that now? You want to
Yes,
go through the bond
please.
first? Plantings at the area that's in the light green on the site plan, which is the, where we asked to do low-impact design for the stormwater design. In terms of that having rain garden plantings rather than just sod or grass. Is that something we can put into the language of the special permit, Alex, somehow?
Oh, yeah.
Rather than a site, rather than a landscape plan, just to have some kind of description?
What is, this is rainwater gardens?
Yeah, there's just the one in the stormwater detention area.
It's in the stormwater detention area only, right?
Right here.
We have the Marine Estates Open Land Management Plan attached to
that's what I was-
Exhibit A at the end. And we might have a Section I or a Section K at the end
Okay.
saying,
I think that's a great idea.
saying what, Cheryl? In the rain garden, there shall be,
Or the stormwater retention area
In
shall
this-
be treated as a rain garden.
Yeah,
okay, how about just that?
just that, with appropriate plant materials.
The stormwater, you getting this, Tim, because you're,
Is this in the operations and management plan where,
this
in
is
Exhibit
going to be
A to,
Exhibit A,
um,
Marine Estates Open Land Management Plan, yes.
It's Exhibit A to Exhibit A.
Right, exactly.
so that's in the declaration of trust?
It's attached to the Declaration of Trust,
It's
that's right.
Exhibit A to Exhibit A.
Give me,
Page 17.
Stormwater detention basin shall be treated as a
you're going
rain
to have to hold
garden.
on 2 seconds, I'm sorry.
Just give this to you.
You said
We're going to
K?
add K.
Okay.
Add K.
As a rain garden with appropriate planting.
Hold on a sec. As a, you can just start from the beginning.
The
As a
sto-
rain garden
the
with
star- the stormwater detention basin
shall be treated as a rain garden
Detention or retention?
with appropriate planting, and we should say that doesn't interfere with the, consistent with the function of the basin. How about that?
That sounds good.
Appropriate planting consistent with the function of the basin.
Retention,
It
yeah.
needs to be retention, not detention.
Retention.
And then I had handed in at the end of last week to the planning department for just the board's review. I think Cheryl in particular requested a plan showing the relocation of the stone wall for the opening. So what we did was a photograph of the existing condition. And then simply what's going to happen is that the wall, which has a sort of a gradual opening, is going to be just swung open. The stones will be picked up and replaced, and the columns will be replaced so that it swings open further deeper into the property, and the existing condition is shown on the first sheet of the plan, and the proposed condition is shown here. It opens the opening to 30 feet. Same, just remove and replace using the same material.
Can you just pass that over, just
I-
to take a quick look?
Sure.
Copy of it.
Everybody's got, should have
Oh,
a
our
copy.
packets
with-
today?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, okay.
So we
Packets,
make
eh?
this 4 and the same. The Marine
Here we
Estates
go.
Open Land Management Plan.
Great, yep.
And what we would say would be,
Where it says remove and replace, it really means remove and reinstall, right?
Should be remove and reset.
And reset, so can we make that notation?
Sure.
So what we would say, how about, in order to accommodate, or we'd say Marine Road Entry Plan, or Marine Road Entry would be the heading.
Is this in the same document?
Yeah, it would be on the same, it isn't perfect, but there's lots of room on it. Marine Road Entry Plan.
Where?
No, it would be, actually, it would be IV.
So,
If you look at, you'll see
so
that,
after 3, open land conservation restriction.
right, it would be
start a-
Marine Road Entry. And then you'd say, in order to accommodate a widening of the driveway for the new Marine Road,
Alex, you can,
I'm going to give you this.
please.
Applicant shall swing the wall inwards on each side on a new footprint as shown on the sheet entitled Existing Entry,
Proposed entry.
or on the attached sheet.
Proposed entry, yeah.
It's shown on the attached sheet.
Attached plan containing 2 sheets.
So you want the no, that's
You need to
right.
keep the picture in
I'll do
too,
the-
so we don't have another Boyle Estate
Right,
situation.
right, that's
That's
what I'm
fine.
trying to,
That's
Okay, I
fine.
got it,
Yeah.
got it. We're going to just say, as shown on attached sheets. Sheets. Applicant shall relocate the pillars further into the property so that they are 30 feet apart, and shall remove and reset the existing stones along the new wall alignment as shown on the second sheet.
On sheet 2.
Are they numbered?
Yes, this should be sheet 1, 1 of 2 and 2 of 2.
Absolutely, on sheet 2. So is the, so since we're going to have the plan, we should say attached is a Google Earth image of the existing driveway opening. And a plan containing 2 sheets of the existing and proposed entry driveway. We take out the description of what it shows. So this is what I think we should say as IV Marine Road Entry. Attached is a Google Earth image of the existing driveway opening at 245 Highland Street and a plan prepared by DeZell Burke and Associates containing 2 sheets of the existing and proposed entry driveway entry. The current opening is 13.2 feet wide.
Alex, you have to start over.
I'm going to
and
give
slow
you
down.
this.
You're going to just give me the whole thing?
I'm going to
Okay.
give you the whole thing.
Can I just say it's a Google Street View image instead of Google Earth?
Yes.
Google what?
Street view.
I called it a Google Earth in my memo, sorry.
All right, well, I didn't get
We'll
what
deal with
Tim
it,
said, but
yeah.
you're going to put that in when I give this to you. It's 13.2 feet wide. In order to accommodate a widening of the driveway for the new Marine Road, applicant shall swing the wall inwards on each side on a new footprint as shown on attached sheet 2. Is that right, Ned?
Yes, yes.
Attached sheet 2. Applicant shall relocate the pillars further into the property so that they are 30 feet apart, and shall remove and reset the existing stones along the new wall alignment as shown on sheet 2. What do you think?
That's great.
Do those sheets have dates on them? Can we include the dates?
March 7th.
March 7th.
Okay, you
like-
can include the dates.
Like by DeSel Burke, dated?
Yep.
Right. And it's called Marine Road Entry, here. You can have this too.
In my scrapbook.
All right, and
Looks good to
what
me
about
on
the,
the
what
map.
about the bond
Oh,
language?
with those, oh, and the bond language.
The bond language.
Wait, I brought the Pulte thing with me,
Yeah, I did
so we
as
can
well.
see what the bond language is.
It's number 18.
18. A bond shall be posted prior to construction to ensure that the street and infrastructure, including water, sewer, utilities, street lighting, drainage, sidewalks, emergency access drive, we
That
take
can come
that out,
Yep, that comes out.
and landscaping are completed as shown on the plan. Can we mark this up? A bond shall be posted prior to construction to assure that the street and infrastructure, including water, sewer, utility, street lighting. Is there street lighting? There is drainage, sidewalk,
No,
Yeah,
there's
no,
no
there-
street lighting.
okay.
All lit by the homes.
Okay. Sewer, utilities, drainage, sidewalk, take out emergency access drive, and landscaping are completed as shown on the plan. The amount of the bond shall be determined by the planning board, and its terms shall be approved by town council. In lieu of a bond, the applicant may ask to post a number of lots. How about saying one or more lots? To post one or more lots. Which shall not be saleable until the street and infrastructure have been completed. Okay, and we'll put that in as, on the,
Well, the road isn't going to be completed, top course doesn't get completed generally until construction of homes is done.
Yep, that's an interesting point on the Pulte one as well.
well, this is, of course, when you post a lot, that's the problem. I mean, when you post a bond, you can get the whole kit and caboodle done.
Yeah.
But when you post a lot, then presumably you get a purchase and sale agreement and you get that top coat going.
But you're not going to do the top coat until the
Foundations.
last of the homes is built, because you're still bringing in lots of
No, I
construction.
understand that, but
Does this allow for both?
if that,
Either or?
Yeah.
When you go to sell the last lot, you could then post the bond for the cost of whatever that
Right.
top coat
I
is.
think that's right.
That's right.
what-
That's a good
what
way
you
to do it.
You substitute a bond
Bond for the-
to.
Yes.
Right. So you
Well,
just then,
it's the
and then
top
you only have to
coat.
bond the top coat, and it's yeah. Okay, that's a good way to do it, Bill.
Okay, you heard that? You want to hear it again?
No, I heard that.
Okay.
And that will go in as just the last provision, I assume, or?
It will go in as the last provision, yeah.
So you'll have to...
Or actually should go in prior to assignment.
It'll go right, yeah, right before assignment would
Yep.
be good.
Can we number these?
You can if you want to.
I always think it's good to number them.
So just use Roman numerals throughout, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is.
The other page up. I
So we have to reprint
had a question.
You have a
in
question
order
on
to-
what?
in order to sign, you have to print.
I have a signature page that I think it's not better.
All right, shall we make a motion to,
Can I ask one question?
yes,
Under your construction hours, if I'm not
Not
mistaken, the
consistent again.
construction hours should be 7 to 6. You have 7 to 5. Trying to be
yep,
consistent.
I understand, what did we use in Pulte? Because Pulte we did check.
7 to 6, 8 to 5.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Okay, let's modify that as well.
What page are you on?
It's in the construction management plan. Second page,
Checked that, but yes, I didn't.
introduction, start work notice, construction hours.
So with those few changes, I move that we approve the special permit.
I will second that.
And the scenic road.
What?
And the scenic road.
The special permit and the scenic road permit.
And I will still second that,
Any discussion?
As, well, I might
As
as well
amended.
say as amended.
as amended.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I think we can sign the,
If three of you want to sacrifice your signature pages on the
On the one that came
one that
tonight?
came in,
problem.
no, it's got no tag in the upper left.
No tag on the upper left.
what?
So
Last
on
page.
Friday, you got one that has a label in the upper left corner, and tonight you got one that's
Need
blank.
3?
Take the
I have
one that's
one.
blank.
I've got
I have one.
I've got
All
it
right,
there.
we're good. We got 3.
I need a blue pen though, because I
I've
keep
got a blue
forgetting a
pen,
blue
too.
pen.
All right, thank you all very much.
Well, this is a nice plan.
Nice to bring,
Oh, I mean.
Keep-
be the first one through the door.
Probably mean you're never going to
And
see
the
it
first
again.
one out the door.
Just sign this one too.
Thank you all.
Need blue?
All right, while we're,
How many are we signing?
3.
Three.
We've got 3 over
Got
there.
3 right
Oh,
here.
you've got 3 going. All right, well,
She's getting some bids on them.
We're going to jump to the A&R for Webster Road. Applicant is the Cunningham Foundation for creation of 6 Form A lots in a C zone. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, board members.
You have an A&R plan before you for 6 individual homes, 6 individual lots, sorry, on land owned by Cunningham Park. The land is in Residence C, 7,500 square foot lots, minimum, 75 feet of frontage required. Steve, you're up.
and this is not part of the park, but just land owned by the foundation?
Yes.
Good evening, board members. For the record, Steve DeRoche, Naponton Valley Survey Associates. Our offices are at 95 White Street in the city of Quincy. I'm presenting this plan before you this evening for 6 residential Residence C lots as an approval not required, as all the lots have frontage on a public way, and the lots all have the area required in the Residence C district. My client is the Cunningham Foundation, and they're looking to do this, obviously, to beef up the coffers a little bit, if you will. I believe that's the reasoning for this. They don't like selling land, but it's come to a point where they have to do something, okay? So I'm here to answer any questions anybody may have relative to this project.
Why don't you just show us where it is?
Go ahead.
Oh, there it is, look, there's you've got it nicely,
Yeah, it's this piece of property right in
Steve?
Yep. I'm sorry, it's this property right in here, between, yeah, it's right in this particular area here, right down the end of Webster.
Question, that doesn't impact access to the park as it
not at all.
exists now? Okay.
Because they still own the land beyond it.
About 2 or 3 years ago, that first house up on the left, from where the trees are, Cunningham sold that one off about 3 years ago as another A&R. This is just a continuation down Webster. It'll go, those 6 lots will come to just below that red mark is a house opposite Warner. Yep, right there. That's the end of it. Webster is a public road for 900 feet. It's a private, yep, it's a private road from there to the Quincy line. I think about 150, 200 feet of the proposal now is on the private way, the rest is on the public way.
And it drops off a lot at the end, right? I'm just making sure I'm thinking of the right road, because I drove it the other day.
Goes
The
into the
very
woods.
end of, and it drops down pretty precipitously,
Into the
right?
woods, yes.
Okay. And is this lot proceeding? It doesn't really, I'm just trying to orient myself. Does this lot, this is where the hill begins, right?
Yeah.
It starts to drop up, it's a little further down?
Yeah,
Okay.
much further down, because there's one house.
Right, this house is at the bottom of the hill,
Yes.
and this house is not?
No,
That's,
that one's
okay,
on the flat
so that's,
spot.
all right, that's what I was
Next
trying to
one goes
determine.
down.
Okay, thanks.
Now, where's the private way start? After Warner
I think
Road?
it's 2 houses. It's right, no, I think it's two of the lots are on.
33 feet from Edge Hill Road.
That would be way in. I mean, it says public
It's
40,
right here.
okay.
Yeah, right.
Right at
Just the-
sort
the
of the
total
middle
is
of
right
Warner
there.
Road.
Total from Edge Hill is right here.
Okay.
Say 933?
So 933 would bring you 7.
Look at you,
It's just
Tim.
about where the red dot is
Yeah,
on the map
yeah, right
behind
about
you.
in here.
Did you know you can do
Got
that
it up
on
there.
Google?
Oh, yeah. There you go. So the last lot's on the private piece, essentially.
Basically.
It's either last or 1.5.
1.5,
Yeah.
1.5, right. Okay.
And it's paved and it's
It is paved.
in suitable shape?
It's paved, those last 2 houses use it every day.
Yeah, I drove it the other day. Looks like any other road. You couldn't tell the changes from public to private.
Well, this is what happens. You run a foundation.
That's right. Okay, any other questions?
No.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we authorize Mr. Clark to endorse this plan as not requiring subdivision approval.
A second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Board
Easy
members.
as that.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Face.
Second one out.
All right, let's drop down to, before we get to board business, let's drop down to our last special permit discussion for the evening, which is Pulte. I know we're not going to vote on this tonight because there were some comments coming in. And hopefully we'll be able to vote on this at the March 23rd meeting. But I just wanted to see if anybody had any comments, on the stuff that we've seen to date.
A few things. There's going to be a gate across the emergency access drive, and we're going to need a plan because, the public is going to be able to walk through there, and we don't want a gate that they have to climb over. So we need a plan showing a gate that is consistent with it being an emergency access and consistent with the right of the public and bicyclists to use that emergency access during the daytime.
Alex, I have news
What?
regarding that.
You have news.
I do. I don't know if we have a plan. We do have on sheet 16, I believe. I'm going to bring it up right now. There is a picture of that gate, and one of the things that we'll have to discuss, and I'm going to wait until Bill gets back before we actually start this, so you can move on to something else. But it's sheet 16. It's one of the detail sheets. The gate, as it's shown on the detail sheet, is 18 feet wide.
Yeah.
The right-of-way that represents the emergency access and pedestrian/bicyclist access is 20 feet wide.
Yeah.
So
That's not going to work.
it's gonna.
What sheet were you,
I'm trying to figure it out.
right
I think
here.
it's 16, but
16?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Would you like to see?
We want something that's easy to get through. It has to be a breakaway gate if it's,
well, I think the detail. I mean, it's got like was there a chain with a lock?
I understand that. But if the fire engine is coming to a fire, getting out and finding the key and unlocking it,
I thought the protocol was they just blast through it, but
that's right.
You can put a knock box there, and that's what you could use to lock it, but that...
But beyond
Usually
that,
they just drive
you
through.
need as something at least 4 or 5 feet wide for people to get through.
As opposed to 2 and 2, right. I agree with that.
it wouldn't even be 2 and 2. It would be 1 and 1.
Right, yeah, that's definitely not big enough.
So you can ask them to come up with a new design.
And do you need to see that in plan, or?
Well, we won't make them redo the entire plan, but we can attach it to some document. If
I know that Bill was speaking with the Director of Consolidated Facilities earlier about some of the gates that they have around the schools, and sort of how they're configured and how wide the right-of-way is.
And we want something that, at least the fire chief should say that this
work.
is fine.
I think it should be on the plan, Alex, because these plans are part of the application.
Right, okay, well,
I know it's a pain in the neck, but
It isn't, no, well, they've got to renumber these things anyhow.
Right, I think they need to put it on the plan.
So get I think that's right. A few other things that I was looking for the approvals on the drainage and the water, sewer, and utilities. And Tim came up with an email train having to do with the Lisa Eggleston and the drainage, and I think we can get that done. But I'm not sure that we've ever gotten anyone to sign off on the sewer or the water or the other utilities. So we're going to have to check in with the Department of Public Works and see if they want to do it. I had thought that Lisa was going to do it.
Lisa does the stormwater, and DPW and engineering look at the utilities.
All right, well, have them
And
look at...
I know they've looked at the plans because we've talked about these plans with them for other reasons, and I
Right.
know they've given it a good look. But if we need to get some documentation of that, we can certainly get that.
And do we have the tie-ins for the, looping water, showing how it's tied into the sewer off-site, tied into the water off Countryside, and I think also off of Governor Stoughton? In any event, we're going to want something on the plan that, we're going to want a approved plan, because we're not going to,
We reference an approved plan that they stamp, or is it a letter? Or what?
they just have, I mean, if the Department of Public Works or the town engineer says this is fine,
Yeah, we just
I'm
need an
prepared to accept
email,
that.
letter, or the file, whatever, right?
All right. Okay.
But I'd like something to be in the, in the file that this is, in fact, has occurred.
We're also allowing a alternative material, which I don't know if DPW signed off on.
It's for,
So
this was the discussion I had with them about this. That alternative material is not actually an alternative material. They use that all the time. It's the difference between water and sewer. I forget which one is which, but one of them is, it's a PVC material that is
So that's
standard.
fine, as long as they, reference it, when they approve the plan, that's fine. That's all. We
I
just
know
need
they've
them.
looked at that note, but we can get documentation of that.
And this, the current permit sort of says that things shall be done in accordance with DPW standards, and we're going to have to ensure that there actually are DPW standards. That is, because if there aren't, we just got to say what they got to do in some other way. There is 1,000 feet plus of stone wall that's going to be removed, and it's said that they will use these stones to replicate stone walls elsewhere on the site. But I see only about 200 feet of wall, and there is well over 1,000 feet that they're removing. So there's plenty of room to build walls, and we may have to have a provision about them coming up with some more walls. Or if they don't, having the stones kept in the town for stone walls elsewhere. Because I think that even though field stones were once regarded as something of a nuisance, that they have some value now.
Well, I would like to see that be referenced in some language here.
Oh, it's
When
going
we
to be.
get- When we get to, I have some discussion I like under the restricted land, but
Okay.
that would be a good place for some of it, but go ahead.
Well, if possible, I mean, it is going to be homeowner land, and putting a wall in there without, changing the restricted land to include a nice stone wall. In any event, we can discuss it.
Okay.
Let's see, what else? The restricted land is a interesting situation, but I think we'll get there. In the plan, they say these house sites are only approximate, and the houses can be put somewhere else. And so I brought this up to Tim, and he said he talked to the building inspector, and there was some thought that using the setbacks otherwise available in the Residence A district might be the way to go. But I have a feeling that some of these houses are closer than 30 feet to the roadway, aren't they?
Is that 30 feet front setback in A?
Yeah, I think so.
If those are going to be the setbacks, those are going to be the setbacks.
Well, I understand that. I
Especially if
mean,
those are
on this
approximate
plan,
locations, right?
on this plan, they have a number of they show the approximate location of the houses.
The issue is that the cluster doesn't really account for setbacks, and so we're kind of,
Well, I
But
mean,
we can, as a condition of the permit,
Right.
apply the setbacks, and if the houses are in the approximate location, but they're approximately over the setback, then they're going to have to approximately move it back.
yeah, but the question is, how close are these houses? I mean, what have they done?
I don't know if I have a scale. I probably don't. I don't have a scale with me.
I just don't see that there's any measurement showing exactly what they're
You
contemplating.
can use the scale on the plan, certainly, but
Well, you can, but
it's not, I don't have it with me.
it's tough.
Alex, which sheet are you on?
Is that 40 feet to the inch? I have a measure, a tape, if you want to.
Well, there's a whole bunch of, let's see which,
That nifty thing that I mentioned the other day.
There's a,
Here on
4, 5,
Four?
let's go to
public
4 and
private
5.
access.
4 and 5 don't show
You
houses.
don't show the houses, no.
But 10, sheet 10 shows some
That all
houses.
has,
You see something?
Or-
This is 40,
I got
Yeah, 1 to
a
40.
tape measure right there if you want to reach and grab it.
they do look like they're about 30.
1 inch. Yeah, I guess they are about 30.
That one's pretty close. But that would be a side yard, I guess, right there, right?
No, well, no, that would
No,
be,
because if it's two, it would have 2 front yards, right?
no, that would
That would have 2 front yards?
Closest one
is this one.
Yeah.
no, the one down here.
Down here,
You've
right
got
here.
one, okay.
Yeah, I think
What sheet is that, Bill?
Yeah, that
11.
one's about 20.
It's about 20 feet.
Probably about 22.
This one?
Well, why don't we ask them what they're, for some suggested setbacks? And,
so I actually ran this by them earlier. I didn't print out the email, so I don't want to paraphrase it too much. But the thought was, in terms of, because I know the issue is the rear setback.
and the front and the side
Well, I mean,
setback.
I think the front setback and the side setbacks are straightforward enough, but the rear setback,
Yeah,
the houses are already set back 100 feet from the property line. So whether there's going to be an additional setback from the edge of the restricted land or not, and if so, what is that going to be? Again, I don't want to paraphrase too much because I don't have Mark's exact language in front of me, but I think his thinking was that the rear setbacks are already set back.
well,
Or?
the reason for the restricted land is that the people said, the people being Pulte, that these people need a backyard, and if they put it right on the edge of the restricted land is not supposed to be a backyard.
Right.
Agreed.
And so there really has to be some sort of a setback there, so that people can have the backyard that they were being offered.
Well, plus that's what it shows in these layouts. They show a backyard,
Right, they do
Big
indeed.
backyards.
big backyard, yeah.
They can't have it both ways. And, you know, if they didn't want the houses to have backyards, they should have shown them not to have backyards.
They are approximate.
I agree, though. I think we need a setback there, because
What's
There's gonna
what's the
be-
rear yard in A now? 35?
30 feet.
30? So it's 30, 15, 30?
I thought it was, yeah, it was 30, and then you can have some small sheds.
What's that?
30 in all four.
30 on set, it's 30 side, 30 rear, 30 front?
No, the rear
30
setback
in
is
the
30.
rear, All
All 4 just,
double A,
okay,
B, and C.
okay.
Maybe I'll give you this back.
So lot 23 is, how deep, though?
That is pretty
Comments, the comment that
This is the
Pulte made
problem,
was,
actually.
the building setback should be from the property lines, not from the lot buffer area. Restrictions and commitments agreed upon in the lot buffer areas have not changed. The buffer area on the rear of lots 13 through 23 is already much more restrictive than the rear setback.
Well, we understand what their position is, but
So,
Well, you
You
could
can
do,
get
you
quote.
could do half along the restricted area.
15 feet?
Yeah.
That's not much of a yard.
Not much of a yard, though.
But I mean, like, you can always, the setback is the limit. You know, they could always have 30 feet between the line, and they can have 40 feet between the line.
Well, I
and
suppose
the back
that
of the
if it
house.
were 20 feet, we probably could, as long as it isn't 40 feet. What is the,
I would suggest that the front yard is really not as much of a concern to us as the rear yard on those lots, 23 through.
except for the fact the road is pretty narrow, and so the closer the houses come onto it, the more,
Well, the concept of the cluster development really is too, that
I
you're
get it.
closer together because
Yeah,
you're
that-
going to share that big open space, right?
exactly, yeah.
So I think it makes sense.
20 seems to work pretty close.
Yeah, 20 yard, 20.
20 on the front.
20 and 20?
Yeah, or 20 and 30, I mean,
20,
That
10.
20 and 20 is, I think is
20 and 20.
good.
Just reduce everything to 20 instead of
That's,
30.
you know, it gives them something.
Yep,
Yeah,
I agree. 20 is good.
20 and 20 and 15 and 15?
Yep,
On the
that sounds
sides?
good.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, those were the only, those were what I was thinking about most.
I would like to talk about the restricted zone. I think at one of the meetings, I suggested that so I'm looking at page 8. Items 3, 6, and 7. Use of that area to have paving or gardens and grass areas.
Yeah.
It just seemed to me we should put a limit on the percentage of that restricted area that could be used for that, because small is not defined.
I agree.
Okay. I mean, I was thinking,
3, 6, and
25 to 30%.
9. Was it 3, 6, and 9, Cheryl?
3, 6, and 7. Because, I mean, basically, you do all of these things, and you could eat up the whole restricted area. There's nothing which prevents that, in essence.
Well,
So-
other than the fact that they can't, the screening has to be at least as good once they do these things.
And I mean, they're all subject to that discretionary process of the approved change.
But, agreed, but I still think if our intent is to limit how much is
I think-
happening in this area, I would like to put a restriction in on the amount.
I agree.
But no
Total
more
area.
than
Screening is-
15%?
Yeah, and screening is manicured, it's not
I was going to say
natural.
25%, but if,
I
whatever.
think 25 is
Awful
too
lot.
much. No,
Okay,
25
15,
is too much.
25, I mean, 15 is fine. I'm fine with 15.
Okay, I'm okay with 15. Small grassed areas, but not more than 15, and small gardens, but not more than 15?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to limit all of that so that even the
Total area.
total area.
I agree with
I was
that.
saying total area,
can't have a
25
small-
to 30%, but
You can't have a 3, a 6, and a 7 all adding up to 75%.
Right.
All right,
Exactly.
So 15%. Or shall we say a total of 20% for everything?
well, I think a total of, if you're comfortable with 20, that's fine. Because then it can be distributed whichever way they deem they want to do, but it still limits
What's
the
the
total.
general, I mean, what would you estimate, quickly looking at the plan, what's the general size of these areas? They're set 60 deep
Yeah,
by probably somewhere between 100 and 70 and 100 wide. So you got 400, you got 4,200 to,
yeah, I mean, this is 147. Lot 23 is wider, though, so one of them is 114.
by 60.
Well, they're all different,
So you got 6,000 square feet.
Yeah, they vary a little bit, but,
but here is lot 15, it's 143 by 60.
Yeah, so that's, 8,000. That's almost 9,000
We're talking
square
about
feet.
that's 23, oh yeah, down to 15, right?
1,800 square feet is a small house. Not even a small house. It's a pretty average house.
Right.
So, and that's that's.
So you're thinking what?
I like 15. I think
15%.
Okay, 15%.
Total.
I think 15% is fine.
Okay. Total, though, right, of all of those, yeah, okay. And then, I just want to make my last pitch on the fence. What I'm concerned about with the chain link
So number?
fence, I'm sorry, that's number 5 on that same, in the same section. The thing that I didn't, what bothers me about the chain link fence is if it's a continuity of it, it seems to me if there's a chain link around the whole length of that,
You mean that around all the restricted land?
yeah,
They just put a chain link fence?
that would be bothersome, I think, to me. It takes away from the natural character in my mind. And also, if there is wildlife that might manage to stay in this area, that would prohibit it from moving
Well, even if they
around,
don't stay,
so-
they're coming back.
That
They'll
would
come
be the
back.
purpose of the chain link fence, but 4 feet does not a deer keep out.
Right, exactly.
Or a coyote.
And this is where
Or a
the
coyote.
stone walls, and the timber walls are in character, in fact, with what they're showing at the entrances, and showing in the rest of the development. Chain link is not being proposed anywhere. So it just seems out of character to me, and I still would like
I mean,
to
it is
start-
out of character. The idea of it is that it's
So what do you
the
want?
idea of it is that it's invisible, right? So the idea of the chain link fence was that it's invisible, so that it's in its natural state because you can't see it. I'm not supporting
the
it.
winter-
I'm giving you the intention. I'm not
Look
supporting
around
it.
outside now in the winter as versus the summer. And how many months do we have of winter when you're not,
And you look at the fence.
You're
and
gonna
you
look
can
at the
see
fence.
it. Yeah, I agree.
I'd rather
So
that
what is
people
your-
in the whose backyards face these would be looking at something similar to
What
what
is your
might be
solution?
strike the chain link or limit the percentage again.
No, I think you either get rid of it or you keep it.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think we need a percentage.
What?
I don't think you need a percentage. I think you just get rid of it.
I think you find the Concom actually approves the black chain link fence in certain areas because of it doesn't prohibit wildlife. Small mammals go right through it, large mammals go right over it. Doesn't stop the reptiles, anything that's in there goes through it.
I mean, we're talking about post and beam or stone wall, though. You're going to get the same result there. You're not talking about we're not allowing for a solid wall fence here.
Okay.
But I hear your point, but I think I'm okay. I'm okay with deleting it, especially if we've got 800 feet of stone that we've got to do something with.
That was my point about it earlier. So,
I think that I like the idea of having this pile of stone available for people to build walls with.
okay.
I think that we've got to do something to allow some black vinyl chain link fence, but let me think about it. I mean, as I see it, I'll get out a draft probably,
So you're going to limit it to some percentage.
yeah, I'd say something about it and see what you say. I mean, I'm sure that they'll say something too.
All right, then another,
One
Go ahead,
question on the
sure.
4-foot stone walls.
4-foot stone.
That's high.
A 4-foot, just to use some of your own words, though, a slightly different twist, a 4-foot chain link fence does not undo a project. So let's not be too worried about that particular issue.
Oh, no, I'm not. It just seems to me that it is, it's something that we'd like to do away with, but
Understood.
it's also something that
There may be reasons for
people like. I've noticed that people like it. In fact, some people put it totally around their house, front, side, rear.
I think the thing to remember here, though, we're talking about the restricted land area only. We're not talking about other areas. And, there's a reason that we're allowing that restricted, which a lot of the neighbors understood to be deemed to
Natural.
have been natural. So it's not about the rest of it that we're talking about. And that's the thing I still would support not having it at all myself.
Okay,
Thinking about that 4-foot-high stone wall.
That's high too.
Yeah.
you want a 3-foot-high stone wall.
Yeah, 4-foot high stone walls.
It's like
But
a
high,
fortress.
these are
Yeah.
dry
Sucker
stone.
comes down, that's gonna hurt you. Yeah, that's the scary
So we'll
wall.
put it 3-foot high.
How about just taking out the feet of not to exceed thing? Because a 4-foot stone wall is,
All right,
dry
well, no, but
stack
you see,
walls.
they can do this, they can use mortar and stuff and build quite a big wall.
Don't you have to get a building permit for a 4-foot wall?
What?
over 4 feet.
Over 4, I think.
So 4 is on the
Might
nosy,
even be
you're
over
okay?
5. Remember, might be over 5.
I think it's over 4. I know what you're talking about, and it has
Why
to
don't we
do,
have the stone walls
Whether it
at
was
3
there
feet?
before. I think it's. It was
anything
there
over that
before.
is a structure.
Stone walls at 3 feet?
I still think it's, yeah, not to exceed is fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so page 12. Pest house, number 13. I like that you have, I think Alex added a foundation, but I'd also like to have it be structurally sound and watertight. That way it's not going to fall down.
We have
Have
a
language in
communication from them, and they're prepared to build a foundation, and it seems to me that it really has to be, this is what they say. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Please accept this email as our written commitment to relocate the pest house from its current location to a new location on the trustee-retained town farm parcel. The proposed relocation of the pest house is conceptually shown on the latest Milton Woods site plan. The final location shall be determined in concert with the Governor Stoughton trustees. We are proposing to move the pest house in as close to its current existing condition as possible. So I'm going to read that again. We are proposing to move the pest house in as close to its current existing condition as possible. We plan to place it on a foundation similar or better that it has now. We would connect it to sewer, water, and electric services. We would also provide the conduits for phone and cable TV service. We would finish grade, spread loam, and grass seed the disturbed area. The intent is to minimize disruptions or changes to the structure, except as required by the relocation. We would leave it in as close to current conditions as possible. So that's what they say. And starting with the foundation, and then we can work our way up. It seems to me that the foundation cannot be a
Slab.
poured cement foundation because it's currently on a rubble stone foundation, isn't it? If it has a foundation, so it has to. You can't have a historic building on a poured concrete foundation, so it has to. They have to face it. Okay.
No, I don't
You
know the
face it. I mean,
condition
it can
of,
be on a concrete foundation with face, or you want
Well,
an
what
actual.
face stone?
Right,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that would be fine, but I don't know the condition of the pest house. Is it sound?
Someone lives in it.
It's a good question. I haven't been on the inside. As far as sound, yes, I believe it is sound. I did have somebody go into the basement last week because one of the overhead wires wound up needing to be replaced by Eversource.
So does that begs the question too, will there be a basement in the new location?
There is a basement in the existing house, there'll be a basement in the new one.
Okay. Well, I still think it should be structurally sound and watertight, because who knows how long it'll be before something is done with it, and the damage will be done quickly in if it's not structurally sound.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have it be structurally sound and watertight than have the utilities brought to it, frankly.
I think,
because
look, why can't they do both?
Yes.
Structurally sound and watertight doesn't mean they got to do cosmetics. but
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
you
Just
know,
to prevent it
think-
from falling apart or having
Or
suffering
rotting from
damage.
within, right.
Yeah.
But my feeling is that once they move it, they're going to put someone in it. At least they better put someone in it.
The gentleman that's in there wants to stay in there.
Well, it's moved.
Yeah, well, it's moved.
Not, well,
Well,
he would do that, but
and they have a site on the plan that you've seen, and Bill says that the trustees are generally agreeable to it.
And what's that?
trustees and the historic commission.
That was my question, okay.
So,
Can you give me better wording than structurally sound and watertight? I understand the watertight part.
don't think
I want to hear your structurally sound components.
Well, when they move it, the
Yes.
Current
connections
structural
between
code.
the walls and the foundation
The
should be
sill.
pretty good, because they're going to be reattaching it. But what about the conditions at the walls and the roof?
The sill and
And-
the joists,
Yep. And
but the plate.
so, and then, I don't know what the construction's like, how, you know, they frame the is there a second floor to it? Or is it a one?
No.
So, okay. So then it's just the roof. So,
What's it have for collar ties? I don't know. What does it
Right.
have for joists? I don't know.
so it doesn't have, structurally sound just means it's not going to fall down. It doesn't have to necessarily be brought up to current code, in my view, of just protecting the structure.
I want to make sure it doesn't rack. I
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay,
I have to make the explanation to them and to the building inspector and know what I'm looking for when I go inside. I got it.
Well, you could ask Joe
I got
what he would want to have, what he would consider structurally sound, just so it
Yep.
does, it's going to withstand wind and so
Yep.
snow, et
Well, you
cetera.
could make it structurally sound in accordance with or at the direction of the
To the building
building
commissioner.
department,
Yeah,
building
that
commissioner.
would be
I
good.
like that one better. Put
Yeah.
it back on.
structurally sound and watertight is determined by the building commissioner?
Correct.
That would be good.
Okay.
Then,
Delegate.
I was just curious, there's more of a question, Alex, on the drainage easement number 14. It says that the applicant shall receive the easement from the trustees prior to any construction.
Yeah.
But if they are not able to get that approval, does it mean that they have to come back with an amended plan to us to accommodate their drainage? I mean,
Well, I mean, if they don't get that drainage approved, they don't have a development.
okay.
And I haven't,
Yeah.
I plan to change this, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
I
I was just wondering what the recourse, kind of
Yeah, they'd have to
was.
come back.
So that, and I thought that the only thing I could see was that they would have to
no,
come
no,
back.
no, They have to come
Yeah,
back.
okay. I think that's it for me.
Oh, and do you remember that, remember what we added everything to in Marine Way, that list about, that's such a great list. I think that we should use it here,
This is the A through K.
the A through K, yeah. With maybe, well, take a look, I mean, if Cheryl takes a look at it and marks it up for this particular development, that might
Okay,
do
want
it.
me to look at that?
This is the open man. Yeah. that's
It's
a-
Exhibit A to
It's a great,
Exhibit
it's
A.
yeah, I actually like this a lot. Let you get rid of some of the invasives and,
Right, there's some great stuff there.
I agree.
And since we won't have a stone wall, we don't have to talk about protecting it. They can snake the new stone wall around the trees.
You may want to share this with all future special permit applicants.
This is, I think that she really did a nice job with that. The applicant herself,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, that's,
Clearly,
they
who did
provided
it?
this, right? Yeah.
I didn't print one out for myself. Can I see that?
So take a look at it, Cheryl, I'll take a look at it. Anyone
Okay.
else who wants to take a look at it and see if,
All right.
right.
Just was looking at it. Oh, yeah, there it is, yeah.
Let's jump to the MAPC application for technical assistance for the wharf area, Milton Village. So I'm going to pass this to Bill. Lead us off.
In your new packets, you've got a copy of the application that was distributed way back when. And also, we received an email late in the day from the Chair of the Board of Selectmen, Katie Conlon, also serves on the Master Plan Implementation Committee.
And I'm actually, before Bill speaks, I'm just going to go ahead and, did everyone get a chance to see Katie's email?
I don't think so.
All right, I'm just going to quickly read it then.
Is it in our packet?
I'm not able, this is from Katie Conlon.
Tonight's
I'm not able to attend the planning board's meeting tonight to speak at Citizen Speak. I am writing as a member of both the Board of Selectmen and the Master Plan Implementation Committee to ask the planning board to approve the use of $15,000 from its general expense line for planning for the Wharf Street / Milton Village area. As you know, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council has approved a planning grant for this purpose contingent upon the town funding a portion of the cost. One of the goals of the master plan is to increase public access to Milton's waterfront. Since last summer, with the Board of Selectmen's support and encouragement, the MPIC has been engaged in discussions with various stakeholders, including the Milton Yacht Club, Friends of Milton Crew, 88 Wharf Street Condominium Association, and others to explore ways in which to achieve this goal. The Board of Park Commissioners also voiced support of efforts to increase public use of Milton Landing. Although the Master Plan Implementation Committee's initial focus was on the riverfront itself, the committee also wishes to explore zoning options that may bring mixed use and other revitalization opportunities to the broader Milton Village area. Okay, go ahead, Bill.
All right. From the application for technical assistance that I gave to MAPC back in December, Milton Village is one of the 4 commercial districts. It consists both sides of Adams Street from the Neponset River to the intersection of Canton Ave, Randolph Ave, as well as High Street. This aspect of the project would include an examination of potential overlay zoning to enable redevelopment of smaller parcels in preparation of a bylaw language to present to town meeting. So it actually does take into account whether it's assimilation of parcels or redevelopment of some of the existing parcels with commercial and mixed-use purposes. It does go into looking at the whole of the area. It looks at all of the existing uses and the existing users, the potential space needs for proposed additional users, possible expansion of existing parking lots, other improvements to benefit a variety of users, use parking to access the abutting Captain's Landing lot, potential uses of the Captain Landing lot, improvements needed to facilitate such uses, and review all of the permits necessary to undertake these improvements. I did talk to MAPC. They have reviewed it. They like the idea. They do want to work with us. Their whole thing is, what's our match? Our match doesn't have to be as much as 15,000, but there needs to be a match. What is that number? I need to write them an email that states the town's portion for the original submittal. I have to make a formal amendment that states and describes the original deal. We are looking at affordable housing down in that district. with another property that's down there. They did ask that I take and state that in here. The other part of assimilating properties in the area does not preclude us from putting affordable housing into those other properties within this study area. That's it. And
Bill, the affordable that you mentioned, would that be done in a mixed use, or could it be done in a mixed use?
could be done in a mixed use. Presently, if you look at our Central Ave PUD, there's a 10% requirement. If you look at our Milton Village PUD, there's 0. So putting anything into here. The problem in Adam Street, High Street, is the size of the existing lots. The size of those lots is, some of them are only like 2,500 square feet.
My concern, Bill,
it's the
is more
building.
about the loss of commercial zoning to purely residential.
Right.
Support mixed use altogether, and having affordable in it.
Require
But
mixed
I really would not like to see a loss of the first
The
floor, at least
commercial.
for commercial.
Yeah, the street retail.
And I
Because
know
we
that
have, it's very hard to add any commercial, and I'd hate to lose
I've
it.
had discussions with a couple of different owners for whether it's assembling parcels or redeveloping parcels, and it's always that it's a commercial district first. Putting the mixed use in there is a benefit to the upper floors, but the first floors could and should stay commercial.
Okay, good. Tim, could you give us, before we go on, could you give us an update quickly? And I'm surprising you with this, I apologize, but can you give us an update on the codification, specifically as it relates to John Flynn's work on table of contents?
So, as it stands now, Julia and the clerk's office have been working very hard on proofreading the work that Bill and I did in terms of reformatting the zoning to fit the table of contents that was approved in 2014. The issue that came up and sort of precipitated a discussion between the clerk and town council is that the table of contents, and specifically the appendix with all of the special permits in the back, that was approved in 2014, as new special permits and new zoning articles have been approved by town meeting between 2014 and today, that's affected the numbering system in that town meeting article that was approved in 2014. So we're still figuring out a strategy, but it may require a new town meeting article that basically takes that appendix that was approved in 2014, adds in the new articles and special permits that have been approved since then, so that we've got, as it will exist.
So I have a so we sort of knew this. We had a conversation about this when we were at the Council on Aging. So there's a couple meetings back. Has there been any work done towards furthering that article? Because I think the hope had been that we could put this in when the warrant was reopened and reclosed, which has now come and gone.
So the answer is no. There has not been work on that article.
Mr. Flynn talked to the Attorney General.
No.
And is there any reason that he hasn't talked to the Attorney General? He said he was going to do it a month ago.
Right.
This is crazy.
So
This is an index to the zoning. We can't publish the zoning because
Alex, what-
somehow we can't
Modify
publish
the
an
index.
index to the zoning.
Alex, if I can just chime in really quick, this is mildly good news, but not the best news. We can publish the zoning, the reformatted zoning with the new table of contents and the appendix as far as it was approved in 2014. So that's that's almost ready to go. We have to have a conversation with the town clerk about what the work that
And so it would be out of date. As soon as it hit the street, it would be out of date.
it would be out of date, but it would be more up to date
It would be
than.
more up to date than the totally out of date zoning that we have. And I am going to go out and I am going to get 100 signatures for a town meeting article saying the town clerk is authorized to make an index to the zoning and to issue the zoning to the public. It's just outrageous.
I'll sign it.
I will as well.
You've got 4 signatures. So the frustrating part that you're hearing from us is that we talked about this a month ago, and we expected we could have handled this on the warrant this time, and now we can't. So now we're into October.
But this is in town council's hands, is that right? I mean, it's not in our hands,
The
is that my
frustration is that
understanding?
It
not
may be
moving
in
forward.
his hands, or
Maybe.
it may not be.
I'm just trying to understand.
So I didn't
whose
mean
court
to
is
knock
it
us
in?
off the track. I just wanted to understand. So, but at the end of the day, for fiscal year 2017,
No zoning.
no zoning, but also any cost?
What do you mean, any
We
cost?
have $15,000 in our general fund that was for codification of the zoning. No one wants to approve it if we need any of it. So should we leave $2,500 in there? Should we leave $5,000 in there? If we're going to do anything, should we leave some money in there for this purpose? Because we certainly don't want to have to go back and
And say, now we don't have
don't
any
have any
money
money.
to.
Right. We certainly don't want to have that conversation. Yeah, we're all looking at you.
Okay, I cringe at doing this one. I do know that at the last meeting, we talked about, could you find a way to search it electronically, give it to a company that now comes in and keeps that track for you? That's a $9,500 project. So I might say that we leave 10, we take 5 for the study, and
What
But
happens
Bill,
if we give 5? Just out of curiosity, I don't understand that piece. So we don't have to match, but what happens if we give 5 to MAPC? What do they give, 5?
no, if we put in, their original plan was, or their original reply was, this plus a request to do 40R. And they figured that the total cost of both projects was $45,000. Matt, we were gonna give them 15, they're gonna give us 45 in value.
So if we give them 5, do they
They're
reduce
going to
that?
do this project,
The project that you described at the
Yes.
outset.
yes,
Do you think 5 is enough?
I do.
All right, then I'll make a motion.
Give them 5.
5.
Offer them 5, I'll give them the email.
Done. I mean, well, I can't say done, but you're making a motion
I'm
to...
making a
I'm
motion.
seconding.
It's about to be done.
Right. Okay.
And you will come back to us,
Hold
though,
on.
if that's not acceptable?
Any discussion? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go
Now
ahead.
ask your question,
Yeah.
because I have one to follow.
Okay, we can bring this up, we have another opportunity. I mean, if we can't get this scope
Yes.
done with that 5, we can
Yes.
come back to them? Okay.
Yes.
As long as we still leave that open, then.
Yeah, I mean, we have till the end of the year to spend the money.
Yeah.
The end of,
Mark is
well,
not
the end
going
of
to
June
review them until next week.
of the fiscal
We'll
year.
probably have to encumber it sometime around the 15th, probably.
We need to go back to, this board took that vote, now I have to go make sure the selectmen are good with it, which we already know they are, because Katie's already said that. Now I have to go back to the warrant committee to get permission to reallocate the funds, okay?
Just make sure MAPC is good with 5 before you go through.
Why do
all
we have to go
Yes.
back?
Yes.
Why do we have to
And
go
that-
back to warrant committee? I thought this was in our general fund. Thought we already cleared that. We already found out that we can spend the general fund however we want to spend the general fund.
I thought that's what the chair of the warrant committee said.
That's
is
what
what
the
the
chair of the warrant committee did say.
I don't think we need to go back to warrant committee.
Okay,
It's our
then we'll-
general fund. That's,
I'm good
Can,
then.
Yeah.
can we give Bill a range if 5,000 is not adequate?
come back on the 23rd.
Just come back, okay, that's fine. All right, so I made a motion,
I
April
second.
All
seconded
in
it.
favor?
Aye.
4-0.
You've got the dough, good luck, Bill. Don't spend it all in
Spend
one.
it all in one place.
Actually, do spend it on one place in this one case.
Please get it done. I do know that the new article that we need to address the future table of contents should have a comment in there that says that we can administratively correct the table of contents as
I
necessary.
don't understand why it
We
wasn't.
don't, you don't have to zone a table of contents.
I
It's
agree with
just
you.
a
Somehow or
stupid
another-
thing to do.
I-
And we should revoke that zoning and say the town clerk can index the zoning, period.
Alex, would you be willing to have a conversation with Mr. Flynn about this?
I have tried to, but
All
I
right.
will take,
Endeavored once again?
I
please?
will endeavor once again to
Thank you.
do it.
Thank you. You come back to us next meeting and let us know how that went.
Right.
Thank you. And then we'll talk about our signatures.
Okay, well, yeah, our signature
Bill, one last
campaign.
question on the, did they give a schedule?
That's what I was going to ask too. I didn't
Because
see it.
I understand from Katie, who called me today because she had received a call from Terry Driscoll of the Friends of Milton crew, and they would like to have an update on the planning initiative, because they're doing their strategic planning. So if we could find that out, I'd like to be able to get back to all of the stakeholders that the Master Plan Implementation Committee had reached out to over the last year and just give them an update. Actually, I'd like to have Tim do that.
The short answer is yes, and I don't remember seeing a time schedule.
Okay. so
We
you
can get that.
You can get that, okay.
And Charles, to address your concern from earlier, you were talking about residential replacing commercial. Any new zoning that comes out of this process, obviously, that's a priority. The zoning that you can already use, the Milton Village Central Ave Business District, PUD, the purpose is to permit quality development, combining both business and residential uses and providing significant amenities to the public. So all the zoning that we have in the Central Ave Milton Village Business District is either commercial or mixed use.
And my
by its
concern was
purpose.
if we did 40R or something like targeted at affordable housing, was making sure that it could include the commercial on the first floor, that it could include mixed use, not just be 100% housing.
And I think that's one of the things that, when they come here to speak with us and we go through that, and I think that's one of the guiding principles that we use.
Yeah,
I don't think they're interested in not having mixed-use transit-oriented development, so.
yeah, okay. That was
Okay.
just,
Don't go
Thank
back
you.
far enough for
All
that.
right, so hopefully very quick discussion. May 2017 town meeting, assuming it is a 3-night meeting, which is very unlikely. I will not be at any of it. Assuming it goes into the second week, which it very likely will. I will be back to file that in time, barring any traveling issues. I'll be back in time for the second week. In either case, and in case I have travel issues, we need to have an acting chair for the May 2017 town meeting, because your current chair will be out of the country, far, far out of the country. I'd like to allow someone here to make a motion for an acting chair, and I would strongly recommend it be our board secretary, but that's all I'll say.
Let me say what I think. I think that that would be great, but I think that what we need are 2 presenters. We're going to have 2 articles, and I think that I can do okay with the Carberry article, and I think that April could do pretty well,
You comfortable with
even
that?
better than pretty well, with the Ice House.
I think it's great.
And,
we still need an acting chair, though.
So that's what I think we should do.
Okay, I like that idea.
I'm
That's
amenable.
great.
Thank
That sounds great.
Thank you for your confidence.
And I could just, as acting chair, we don't need an acting chair. I can
Well, you'll
deal with
be
it
the
as a
secretary.
senior
As the
member.
secretary.
And,
That's good.
Okay.
Purely
Or
a
as the
figurehead position
secretary.
anyway.
What?
It's purely
Yeah,
figurehead.
nothing exciting
so,
happens anyway.
You know.
All right, good. Now you all are aware of my situation, and I hope very much to be back in time for the discussions on Carberry and the Ice House. Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes.
On your next meeting on the 23rd,
Yes.
how many meetings have you missed? I'm sorry, I'm
On
asking
which?
Cheryl because
on what?
Cheryl won't be here.
On what?
Oh, it's not an open, it's not a,
Right.
hearing's
The hearing's
closed,
closed.
right?
Public hearing.
thank you.
Yeah.
I am in the air during our
I
meeting,
know, and I
so
just wanted to make sure that we weren't
No.
losing something, and I'm good. Sorry.
Okay.
You should just alert the applicants for Pulte that we will not have a full board that night. If they're happy to go forward with a vote, we're happy to take one, but if they'd like to defer, they should be aware that we will not have a full board.
But we could, it may be that some of these things they're going to want to discuss.
Exactly. I'm just,
that-
yeah,
that-
they should be here absolutely to discuss, but I give,
And if everything is...
They don't wanna have
If
us vote,
everything
then
is
that's
great,
fine.
we can either vote or not
right,
vote.
yeah, exactly. No, they should definitely be here. All right.
Also got public hearings on the 23rd.
What's that?
Which one?
Public hearings on the 23rd.
Do we have
what?
any?
For zoning.
Oh,
That's okay.
yeah.
I just,
Just counting. in my
before,
head,
before
that's
the end
all.
of the night, if we could talk about that.
Because we reopened the warrant,
Right.
we put in the new
Oh, right, right.
version. We're having the public hearing. It's been posted in the newspaper, published in the newspaper twice. So we have the new public hearing on the
For both?
23rd for both the Ice House and for
But
Carver.
people better be aware that these public hearings, we don't intend
Need to be a formality from.
to have them much more than, we don't intend them to go a long time because,
So to that end, at the beginning of those public hearings, we will be incorporating into the record prior testimony on both articles,
But will you be voting on both?
most likely.
On the,
yeah, we'll vote to recommend them.
on the recommendation.
Oh, on the recommendation, right.
Yes.
And just so the viewing public at home knows, the articles under consideration will be the articles that were voted on and approved by the planning board on February 23rd. Those exact articles.
Okay, as amended, though, by the warrant committee?
Was there
Amendments?
amendments?
They did it,
They did a few
nothing
little-
material.
Nothing material, but there were some, just to be clear with
With
your...
immaterial amendments from the warrant committee?
Correct, just wanted to be very clear.
Same ones we have on our website now.
Yes.
Okay. Let's have a brief conversation and see how early we can get out tonight on October 2017. The warrant committee has asked us to report back to them where we are on items that have been sent back to the planning board for further study. We started this conversation towards the end of 2016. And just to remind everybody, I'm not going to go through everything, but I will tell everyone what the articles that have been referred back to the planning board are since May 2014. One is agricultural nursery landscaping development. I think we've pretty much done that
I
one.
think that turned into,
It seems to be, if we...
I think we're done with that one. I'm going to cross that one off.
Push that off a
Yeah.
little bit.
We have attached condo residence development. That was referred back to the planning board in May of 2014. In October of 2014, we had a non-conforming dimensions and grandfathering change. That was referred back to the planning board. May 2015, we had a lit sign moratorium. That was referred back to the planning board. October 2015, we referred two back to us. One was amplified music, the other was non-conforming dimensions for a second time, referred back to the planning board. February 2016, we amended Chapter 10 of the general bylaws for a parkway planner unit, so that one's done. That's Ice House.
Can I just make a comment on one of them?
And in 1 minute. May 2016, we did bed and breakfast, authorization to tax bed and breakfast, and a non-conforming business use bylaw, and those three were referred back to the planning board. Cheryl?
I just want to note that on the non-conforming dimensions, I think we had Marion McKettrick suggest to us that it wasn't maybe a zoning language issue as much as a zoning enforcement issue.
Interpretation issue.
Interpretation. But I don't know how we want to handle that, but that, she did come, I think she may have supplied a memo, but,
She did indeed. What we had is, first of all, Ned and Bob Sheffield came with something. It just morphed. It became absolutely incomprehensible, and that's when it got sent back to us for study.
so, I guess, I know from having spoken to and worked with some folks in town that there are a fair number of properties that have non-conforming conditions. So if they want to change anything in their property, to do an addition, even if it conforms, because of the prior non-conformance, they have to go to the Board of Appeal. And I understood that that was sort of what was intended to be addressed, but I think the way to start with that one is, what is the problem that is intended to be addressed? And you said it morphed all over the place. So then let's just say, okay, here's the issue that we want to get fixed and how we go about fixing it, sort of starting from a new point. And if it's really about the enforcement, then is that something where either Bill or Tim should have a conversation with Joe Prondak before we go too far with it?
Okay, so that's one we should discuss, for sure.
And that's specific to residential structures.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's restricted, to- and it specifically deals with what Cheryl was just saying,
Yeah.
which is you want to put a
My house.
master bath on or something, and
There's many of them, though. I
Yes.
mean, there really are, right, Bill?
First call I made when I moved to Milton, I called Bill Clark and learned I was non-conforming.
And really what
So
it
don't
means
even
for
try
the,
it.
just for the for people who may be watching, for the average homeowner, it means maybe hiring an architect, maybe hiring an attorney, filing something with the building department, getting in a denial, filing with the Board of Appeal, going to a hearing. And they think, why do I need to do that for this? There's an expense to all of that. And it does seem like it's something worth addressing.
So which one are we talking about here? October
9 and-
2014? Or
they're
October
both of them.
2015? Same thing.
yeah,
Okay.
well,
I wasn't here for October 2014, but I was here for October 2015. Are those the same?
they're
or?
very similar.
Okay.
But of course, when you say you want to go outside the zoning to do something to your house,
No,
That's where it started to get crazy.
that's different.
well, no, but I mean, if you want to, I mean, Joe Prondak, if you want to do something on the far side of your house, which has plenty of room, I think that he'll let it go.
No.
You know? He says that because you have a nonconformity on one side, you can't do it on the other side. Well,
That might be the
I
thing
mean,
that Marion's
if that
addressing.
is, if that's the issue, we can cure it.
Okay,
Pretty easily.
Yes.
That's what
Just
Marion
don't make
was
it
talking
worse.
about.
right.
The nonconformity
One of
shouldn't
that
be
I'm
what-
familiar with
or
has to
extended.
do with height. That the height is, because you have sloped topography, you're non-conforming for height. And if, it doesn't matter if you want to add a one-story addition that has nothing to do with height, you still have to go through that process.
We can fix that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can fix it. It's a very simple
That's
bylaw.
the
If
issue
that's the
I'm
issue.
familiar with.
But
That,
of course, when we say this is the issue, people are going to say, wait, you've got the issue.
Well, I think we should ask Joe also what he's seeing, and we should ask the Board of Appeal what they're seeing
Yeah.
most commonly.
All right, let's do it.
all right, signs. Let's talk about signs. We've got I think we just have to talk about signs, right?
So Bill and I have been doing some work on signs. We actually recently went to, so I have been doing a lot of research about, and I've come to the board a few times with some research about what other towns have done, about sort of what we've done here in Milton in terms of, signs that tend to eventually get their approval.
Can I just clarify? These are
Yes.
commercial district signs?
We're talking strictly about the commercial
Business
district.
district, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to
I
clarify that.
think we do need to maybe get the ball rolling on signs in residential districts, but I think that's a October
steps.
2018 piece. Bill and I went to the Chamber of
And
Commerce.
one second, just because of the Supreme Court case, and we're really waiting to get some direction.
There's some of that direction is starting to emerge, but it's just, you just have to be so very careful now, and it's going to take a lot of time to really get the care and then the tightness that you need. Bill and I went to the Chamber of Commerce recently, presented some of the sort of very kind of general ideas that we're thinking of in terms of number of signs, types of signs, dimensions, illumination. I think the next step is to, we've had meetings, a meeting with the sign review committee very early on, just to sort of get their kind of take on sort of the general sign situation in town. I think, Brian, you and I talked the other day, and I think bringing them in to this table to just sort of get a little more, move that ball forward in terms of what they'd, like to see. And I think the step after that is, engaging some of the residents who have expressed concern, before we develop language. I've got a kind of suite of ideas that are out there that we've, like I said, we've presented it to the Chamber of Commerce, so I consider it to be the constituency for signs. And then the other sort of constituency is, obviously the residents, especially residents abutting the business districts. So I think a lot of it is based on what actually has wound up being approved in town. I think what you'll find is there's actually a lot of pretty nice and good signs in town. There's a few that are kind of hot button. I think this is just definitely doable for October, and so there's no reason not to.
So why don't you start talking to the sign review committee about meeting dates, probably subsequent to town meeting
Yeah.
would be best. Attached condo residence development, I'd like to make a observation. We had two initiatives, the Ice House and the Carberry Estate, come before us over the last many months. And one of the things that was interesting to me watching the warrant committee was the discussion about the tax impact of those projects. And the net tax gain of the commercial project is, it's six figures, but I don't think it's low to mid six figures. What was interesting is that the combined total impact of the two condo projects that this board has worked on, Woodmere and now Carberry at its very infant stages, is in the millions of dollars of range based on the number of units and the potential value of the units. So something to think about. I don't think this is something we're ready to rush, but it may be time to re-engage our condo working committee or reformulate our condo working committee and have discussions about where there might be appetite for this type of property type in the market, especially now that one of the biggest potential issues for the condo working committee is sort of working its way towards being no longer on the books, which is the Carberry Estate. So just something to think about. We certainly will not be ready for October of 17, but it's just something for us to be thinking about.
Something relative to the condo conversions, I think that we might want to think about is, there was, Bill had alerted us to the potential conversion of a single family on Central Ave into condos. That they applied, a client of Ned Corcoran's, and they applied to the Board of Appeal. And that house is similar to a house that a work colleague of mine was familiar with that's for sale in Milton. It's 9,000 square foot single family on a smallish lot. So it built in 1902, I think. And, these kind of present a little bit of interesting challenge because, they're in locations that if that was on 5 acres and it was a 9,000 square foot historic house, it might command a certain kind of buyer or use. But should we consider, we have the condo conversion bylaw, but it only applies to houses that are on 5 acres. So should we think about revising that or looking at that again and see what it kind of impact? Because if we could save a historic house that was built in 1902 that may or may not.
I have another one that's 1932 that you lose it and you'll get 3 single-family homes. You have the potential that you save the character of that building. I mean, when Tim and I talked about it earlier today, actually, there was another woman in here, one of the neighbors for 120, who came in and said, like that pretty building that got torn down for the 4 homes, I understand the significance. The Women's Club. Tear down the Women's Club, build 4 single-family homes, which might have been nicer, 5 or 6 condos in that existing building, or the 4 homes. We have another building coming in town that,
Of course, the Women's Club was structurally in rather poor condition.
But
which
the
is why you
concept, I
need to
think,
give
is
it
the
more
one that's
units in order to
important.
But
pay
the
for
concept
that
is something to
structure.
think about. I mean, I still look at the Salt and Stall House on Brush
Exactly,
Hill, which
another
is
one.
still empty, and I drove by it the other day, and there was a bulldozer out front, and I got very nervous. I don't think it was doing anything with the building, but it was, it's a house that I would be very disappointed to see us lose. The Husa Club is a big conversation piece these days.
And that's where I was going
Right,
without
so-
saying it.
I think it's, but I think it's important to say it. I mean, there are things in town that people would like to see protected and not have it knocked down and replaced with.
I think we have to be realistic. Like I said, a 9,000 square foot house on a smallish lot, what's the likelihood that somebody's going, what's the best use of that?
And that's going back to the Husa Club. You could tear that down and build 3 single-family homes as of right.
That's right.
Or do you save the building that added the character to the rest of the neighborhood? everybody in that neighborhood, I live near the Hoosier Club.
Right.
They like the building, they're comfortable with the building.
And it's a similar, I mean, it's a similar thing that we've been talking
character.
about for a few, last few meetings. If you put it in the zoning, it doesn't preclude anybody from still tearing down the Hoosier Club and
It's
putting
an
in three.
overlay,
It just
yes.
becomes an overlay. It's something that people can use as an option. And
Some people, as we've talked about on other kinds of zoning initiatives, will take the path that's sort of a sure thing. So the sure thing would be the subdivision, tear it down and do the 3 because they know they can do that. I think we just want to, if we said our stated goal is to preserve a historic property, then, how do we incentivize that, right? And not outrageously, but,
It's
to the
more
right.
units, right.
Yeah.
3 single-family homes, or do you give it 5 units, 6 units in the preservation of the building? It goes back to Alex's comment that the Women's Club wasn't the best structurally sound building, but if you had allowed more units more than 4 units, now you're starting to talk. If you put in 6 units, could you have made enough money to pay for the structural repairs to that building?
Then the question is, does it help fulfill the stated need in both the housing production plan and in the master plan of having diversity of the kinds of housing we have?
well, a striking part of what's going on with Woodmere, for me, on Brush Hill Road, is the amount of money those units are commanding. So when you talk about the number of houses you could build in there versus the number of units you could put in, the unit price is not that far off. And in some cases, it equals the price of the 3 single-family homes. So if you're doubling the unit count, you're doubling your appraisal, and you're bringing in additional tax revenue in a housing type that's less likely to have children. It's not unlikely to have children, but it's less likely.
But think of it even as similar to what we tried to do with the cluster, right? And so the cluster, you're saying congregate the housing so that you can get the open space. Here we're saying do the condos, which would be smaller units, so that you
To
can
save the building.
preserve the historic property.
And,
I mean, conceptually, I see it very similar, because you're using a tool to achieve the goal that you've stated
So-
is important.
Again, I don't think it doesn't, in my opinion, have a chance of being ready for October.
No.
But I do think it's something that this board, as a advisory board to a committee or as part of a committee, should definitely continue this dialogue, because I think it's something that there's interest in among some people in the town.
But
certainly.
of course, if a developer came and bought the Hoosier Club or put it under agreement and said,
We want to do
this
condos.
is what I'm thinking, who knows?
Well, I agree with that 100%. The challenge is it's 9 to 15 months away from fruition when you have to go to town meeting. So it just makes it a little bit more complicated to save the building.
No, and of course, my view is saving the building, saving the facade. You remember what they did with the DeWolf building on Canton Avenue. They supposedly saved it, but they actually didn't. I think that the interiors are often more important than the exteriors, and if no effort is made to do anything to incorporate the interiors into the building, and all you do is save the outside shell, like that building that Bill talked about, apparently the owner gutted the inside and there was nothing left.
Well, the Salt and Salt building has a lot of things to remove from it as well, not everything, but I toured that building some time ago, and mantles were removed, light fixtures removed. The one, I went on the Board of Appeal tour of the one on Central Ave, there was a lot of stuff removed in there. That place has some character still. These things are big, though. You can subdivide like that one had a rear stair and a front stair, so you get your 2 means of egress. You can do 2. I mean, you could basically divide it horizontally without a lot of.
Well, look, the reality is, as a developer, you know that if there's a way to save the interior, it intrinsically is going to have more value than a vanilla,
Oh, yeah.
just a vanilla shell. So
The issue with those houses is the older houses have smaller rooms. We use larger rooms, so it's taking out the interior walls and then trying to make the interior from this room match this one, and that becomes the problem. They gut it first, and then they forget that there was trim
There's
more.
there's two things you're trying to protect. One is you're trying to protect the historical integrity of the building, but the other thing you are trying to protect is the visual character from the roadway, which is what we were talking about on Carberry. So the fact that you're driving along and seeing the original structures as opposed to the mansionization of the town.
This might not necessarily help the issue that you're talking about, but I forget what town it was. It might be Portland. For houses of a certain age, they have an ordinance that basically says deconstruction as opposed to demolition. So like dismantling the structure so that like instead of just knocking it down, you're taking the shingles off, you're taking all of the fixtures out. So whether it gets reused on site or sort of you save that stuff, it's not just, a demolition of a building, it's a sort of deliberate, dismantling and deconstruction of it so that, you're saving those features, which is, if someone wants to knock down the house and put up something else, that's, one thing, but at least you're sort of getting all the good stuff out for reuse somewhere else.
Good, interesting. Okay, so amplified music, I'll just tell you, my feeling on the amplified music is that it should be a general bylaw, not a zoning bylaw, and that's the recommendation the board should make.
We could do it. I mean, we could produce it.
But do we want to produce it? Because amplified music really should be something that the police regulate.
Well, no, I mean, we could do it and say the police will regulate it.
Didn't we try to do that last time? And
Yeah, and we got thrown out.
Who's going to measure the sound?
Well,
I understand it, but you're
Someone's
saying
got-
you're going to produce it. What sound are you
didn't
going
say
to
it.
produce?
someone's got to do it, and the police aren't going to do it.
The police are definitely not going to do it. I'm happy to make a
building
recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that they do it as part of a general bylaw.
Right.
And we can draft it for them.
Right, well, say, here's selectmen, here's something you might want to consider grabbing and running with.
I think we tried that, and
Well, I understand, but it doesn't
Well, there'll
mean
be
we
a new
can't try
selectman pretty
again.
soon, so.
it got
try
kicked
again.
back, and it got kicked back and out, and it got pushed out by the building inspector, who didn't like it.
I think it is something to, there are particular concerns people have expressed, and it does seem like somebody in town government ought to address it. I don't know that the planning board's the right one either, as Brian said, but
Why don't we have the new town administrator weigh in on this?
good idea.
Great. Want to talk to our new town administrator about this?
I will talk to him
Well,
about this.
and I think, because I know the issue in terms of enforcement is sort of measuring, and staff and all of that. I think figuring out exactly what the resources needed to achieve the goals that people want,
I think we put that back on Mike's shoulders, and
Well,
I'll do that with Mike.
that's,
I think that's a good thing.
Okay. Two more. Bed and breakfasts, let's end on that one because of non-conforming business use bylaw, I think we can do very quickly. I think I don't think we need, I think the recommendation at this time should be that is not something the planning board is interested in tackling.
Let's see how the ice
How the
house
Ice
works
House
out.
does. I agree with that, so. Ice House as our pilot.
Exactly.
All right, bed and breakfast. We just had, I believe, we just have a bed and breakfast. I just got a copied on a bed and breakfast complaint from Airbnb, I think, in town, right?
Yes.
Yes. So there are bed and breakfasts operating in Milton. Some are now not operating in Milton. The question, I think, on this one for me is twofold. One is revenue. I've sort of done the math. It's certainly revenue neutral, but I don't think there's a huge revenue lift here either. So it really comes down to more of an amenity, and do we want to have bed and breakfast in Milton, in my opinion.
I think it was one of the things that we discussed in the past when Emily was on the board, and she had advocated in part, it's another strategy for preserving a large historic structure,
Right.
which, again, we talked, I think, previously, and when we had public comment on it, just how many, the sort of maximum number of rooms was important, whether there should be any minimum number of rooms. But one of the things I saw as an benefit is that it could be something on one of these properties that, on these really large historic properties.
We also we have a hospital, we have Milton Academy, we have Curry College, so we have potential users here, so it is an opportunity. I do think there's probably a demand for it. Why don't we do this? We have talked about non-conforming dimensions, we've talked about signs, everything else we've suggested we will move on in another way from our recommendation standpoints. Can I recommend that we bring bed and breakfast up for a discussion after town meeting? We'll look at what we discussed prior, and we can go through it and decide at that point if the board wants to move it forward for October, or at least begin dialogues about it.
I mean, I need an education on it because I
We
wasn't
would
part
need
of
to
this
start
process
over,
last
right.
year. Yeah.
Well, I do think what we would need to do is we had public testimony, we had a draft bylaw. We'd want to have that sort of maybe summarized by Bill or Tim.
Yep, and we'll also have one of the reasons I don't want to do much on any of this until after town meeting is because we'll have a new board member. So
Can I,
we'll discuss bed and breakfast
on the,
in the context
on the
of the
next
board.
one to that, but related to it, the authorization of the B&B tax. Right now, you can rent 2 bedrooms in your house. And we don't do that. You can go online and you can look up and find units all over town. They're everywhere. They're not just in there's some in East Milton, there's some over,
Short-term or long-term?
These are borders.
Borders.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, but they're under the umbrella of Airbnb.
Okay.
The
So
one that
that's-
you saw was the one that, somebody has out there for 17 to 24 people advocating for parties,
Right, I saw that.
and that's the one that we saw. That was the flagrant one, rent a tent, we'll help you get a liquor license deal. The neighbors are losing their minds, and the other part is, there are other people who are just doing it anyways. Should we be, authorizing the tax for the Airbnb?
Tim,
Question.
before we get to that, Tim or Bill, before we start having a conversation about that in May, I would be very interested to see if you could give us any input over the last 18 months or 2 years since Airbnb sort of became popular, what other towns have done, if there's been more towns looking at this, and we don't have to answer us right now, but I think we'll need to talk about it again when we talk about it with the new board. But I think it would be helpful to understand what other towns have done in response and how they've treated these issues.
Can I just mention, I think if the timing and the schedule works out for the wharf study, there could potentially be zoning for October
Great.
town meeting coming out of that, right? Potentially, right?
Maybe.
So we could
It's
just sort of
aggressive.
keep that in mind because we will need to discuss that, right?
Yep.
Throughout the time between us.
I feel like
Aggressive?
that's a little aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, it seems a little aggressive, but the warrant will be due in August, probably, usually. I think it's right around, Julie, is
Yeah.
it typically like 2 or 3 months out, so August-ish? So, that's May, June, July, August, and it's summer, and we're gonna have the usual concerns about people not being able to participate. So we're gonna have to make sure we have enough meetings and everything that people can get their voices out if they're on vacation or whatever. I would entertain a motion.
Okay.
Just as an aside, you have citizen planning training, collaborative training next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend, out at Holy Cross, should you want to do it. You all had an email with a list of different courses, classes, seminars, whatever you want to call them.
Coming up in a week.
Not this weekend, next
A week
weekend.
from Saturday.
Is there a deadline for signing up? I know we got the email, but
This is the same one you've been getting every week.
Is it really?
I don't know.
I'm so proud of you.
I'll send it again.
All right, yeah, send it again. I'd like to, if this continues.
I second the motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor?
I.